Welcome to the channel and welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Let's jump straight into it. So firstly, give us your thoughts and feelings on the match last night. That was better, wasn't it, after the season that we had and then the performance we saw against Leeds. It was very very doom and gloom, wasn't it? It wasn't looking very, very promising. But again, it is pre-season, so I'm not going to get too bent out of shape for bad performances. I'm not going to get too, giddy about good performances. But that was much better, I felt, for the first 60 minutes, that first 11. Until all the changes in the second half, and then that just totally disrupts the game, which happens in pre-season, doesn't it? When you have all those changes and pretty much all 10 outfield players coming on, difficult for them to get into the rhythm of the game, and so on and so forth for the team in the second half. But the first half, or the first team, we'll call it the first 11 that were on the pitch, I thought there was some good signs. I felt that. I like the back three. I like the pace of Lenny Yoro and Aiden Heaven. I thought De Ligt was better on the ball as well. I felt they were braver, pressing higher up the pitch as well. And I think having Aiden Heaven and Lenny Yoro with their pace allows you to do that because, the threat in behind, you've got those two players with their speed to be able to deal with that threat as well. I like the balance in midfield as well with Ugarte and Mainu. It's a massive headache. I think when Mbeumo comes into the team, because if he is going to play as one of the 10s and then Bruno drops back deeper in the midfield, who do you leave out? But I like the balance of Ugarte and Mainu in midfield. Mateus Cunha adds that little bit of quality, doesn't he, on the ball? And, Bruno's Bruno, isn't he? I actually felt Rasmus had a decent game as well, far better than what we've seen from him over the last 12 months. That was probably one of his better performances where he actually looked to stay on his feet. He actually looked to play to his strength as well, which I think with his pace, running in behind, that obviously chance in the first couple of minutes where he hit the post, that's what you want to see more from Rasmus, but did fade a little bit later in the game. But again, I thought he looked decent. Patrick Dorgu, what a player he's going to be, I think. If he can improve his quality on the ball, he's got everything: pace, power, athleticism, and don't forget he's playing against Wan-Bissaka as well down that side, and I felt that he was really, really good. Ahmed had a bit of a quiet game, but scored a really good goal that was unluckily offside. So overall, I felt it was better. We were starting to see things, and that's what you want to see from pre-season. Start to see the progress, start to see the system, start to see, us being a bit braver in pressing. I thought the pressing was really good at times. Winning the ball back, we were just a little bit giddy on the ball, I would say, because every time we did win that ball back quickly, I think we were still Erik ten Hag style football where, because he wanted to be a transition team, where sometimes we overplayed it a little bit. So I'd like to see us get a little bit better on the ball. But apart from that, I thought it was a decent performance. But give us your thoughts and feelings in the comments below, as I'm sure you will. Give us your standout performance. For me, I thought Ugarte was excellent, man of the match for me. Winning the ball, actually played some really nice passes as well. Like I said, that chance or that goal that Ahmed scored, created by Ugarte. I know it was offside, but I thought that was one of the best moves of the game as well. Dorgu, Lenny Yoro's just class, isn't he? He's a quality player. Some of his passing, I like the way he runs runs out from the back as well. So shout out to them. Then obviously Bruno gets the highlights, doesn't he? Scoring the 2 goals. Unlucky when he was through 1-on-1 as well with the pitch. I think slowed the ball down and then it ended up slightly behind him. But other than that, I thought decent showing. Signs are there. Still got a lot of work to do, but I feel a lot better than what I did after the Leeds performance anyway. Then forget the result. It's not necessarily about the result. It's just about seeing those things on the pitch, seeing something changing and something happening. And I felt we saw that a little bit last night as well. But give us your shouts on the match in the comments below. Let's go through some comments because there were some interesting quotes and comments I felt from Amorim and from Bruno as well, which we'll run through. So Ruben Amorim first, he said, "We had some possessions. We defended well, 1-against-1. We pressed high, especially with the goal kicks. That was obvious as well. Whenever West Ham, we were literally on the halfway line, pressing, ready to go, which is something we haven't seen for a while. Actually, us pressing that high and effectively as well, because we were winning the ball back a lot of times doing that. and helped us to win the ball sometimes. I think we need to have more long possession when we win the ball. I'd agree as well. We were quite wasteful sometimes, trying, almost forcing things too much. Sometimes we were near the box and tried to find small spaces. We can handle the ball and work the ball a little bit more. And I would agree with what Amorim said there as well. And you can see what he's trying to ultimately look to do is win the ball. If there's a chance to create, like the one where Bruno played Rasmus through where he hit the post literally in the first few minutes, then do it. But if not, if the pass isn't there, don't force it. Just keep the ball, maintain that possession and keep working it, because we do have quality players now in Cunha, and hopefully when Mbeumo gets on the pitch. That was a bit of a blow as well. I was hoping yesterday to see his debut, but just on Mbeumo, obviously not seen as ready or fit enough yet to play. Not going to play midweek neither as well against Bournemouth, but might be ready for the Everton game. But we'll bring you any updates when they come out. But yeah, that was a bit of a blow. But yeah, I'd agree with what Ruben Amorim had to say regarding the situation. Do need to be a bit calmer on the ball when we win it, but the fact that we were winning it in good areas as well is a positive for me, and it just shows that, you know, they have been working on things, and we just need to see that progression now as well, which is what it's all about. But on the midfield, he said the midfielders in the first half, Kobe Mainoo and Manuel, were really good. I agree as well. On Ugarte specifically, he said first thing is adaptation to a new team, a new country. Sometimes we just look inside the pitch. Off the pitch, you have some trouble sometimes. He's more adapted. Then I think he needs more confidence. That's also my job. So this is asking, when he was asked specifically about Ugarte, what he expects, and obviously the struggles that he had in spells last season. And it is something we often overlook, isn't it, as fans, the fact that he's come into a new country, he's got to move, you know, just might not know people around it. It must be really, really difficult to move into a foreign country, get thrown into the deep end. We signed him last minute as well. I don't think Ten Hag fancied him, so he wasn't playing him to start with as well. And you do overlook that. He is a young player as well. He's only, 24? So hopefully if he's more settled, we can get a few more performances on him, because I think he's got the work rate and the tenacity. Just need to see a little bit more on the ball from Ugarte, because his passing sometimes far too safe. But I felt yesterday there were some nice long balls that he was playing. You know, like I said, the through ball to Ahmad, which was just offside, would have been a great goal. So I'd like to see more from Ugarte this season. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments. And then on Rasmus Højlund, Amorim said, I really like the Rasmus game, the runs, the way he fought in the game, 1-against-1. And when we kicked the ball, he connected with his teammates. He did a good job. And he did actually have some nice touches as well. Højlund wasn't giving it away consistently when he got it. Did play a few nice passes. Obviously got in a couple of times, was unlucky with that shot. That would have been a great effort if that burst the back of the net. But give us your thoughts on Højlund. Still, I think I'd want to see more quality in that area personally, but it's probably about as good as we've seen from Højlund for a very, very long time. I felt he did okay. And then obviously Bruno Fernandes, when he was asked about him and potentially, you know, the reason why he kept him and didn't sell him to the Saudi Pro League, he said he leads by example, works really hard, always available. Sometimes he plays with pain. Sometimes he gets frustrated and loses a little bit of focus of his job. Sometimes he wants to help so much. It is not the best thing. He has to wait for the ball. And Amorim acknowledging what I think the main frustration is with Bruno is that when he loses his head and he tries to do too much too often, it's really frustrating, because he does, you know, it does affect his game. And I think if he does calm down a little bit, you know, he's obviously, well, he's a quality player, but that's the frustration around him, is that sometimes that comes across as petulant a little bit, and not just petulant in terms of his attitude or how his body language, but also petulant in his passing and stuff as well. But hopefully you get better quality players around him, because Cunha looked really good at doing that as well, dropping, getting deep and helping with the build up. I think Mbeumo might be doing the same as well down the other side. So if you can add more quality around Bruno, it takes that away from him, and then he can concentrate more on his game. But it's going to be interesting to see how the midfield dynamic works, because like I said, I like the balance of Mainoo and Ugarte there, but Bruno's going to move there when Mbeumo hopefully comes in, and if we do get a new striker, or if we do end up starting with Rasmus. So it's going to be really interesting to see who partners Bruno in those sort of positions, or is there an argument to say, well, keep Bruno as the 10 with Cunha and play Mbeumo up front through the middle, play Cunha through the middle and play Mbeumo as one of the 10s. So it gives us flexibility, though. That's the positive, I suppose. We've got different different horses for different courses, different games, different systems. You know, if we're chasing a game, maybe you go more attacking, or if we're winning a game, go a bit more defensive, maybe. So, you know, it does give Amorim options, I think, as well. It's a nice problem to have. And then Bruno himself said overall the game was good. We was good on the ball. In some moments we could have kept possession for longer, as the manager was asking. We rushed a bit in the final third when trying to score our goals. We will work on that. And I felt that was the you know, one of the, not downfalls, but one of the things I felt as well, that every time we got the ball, we were just trying that counter attack or trying that through ball when the pass wasn't quite on. Could have kept it for a few more passes and then created a better chance possibly, but that will come hopefully. And then, you know, we add a little bit more quality with Mbeumo on the pitch as well. Then, you know, we'll have to then I think this is the start of something. But give us your thoughts and feelings overall on the match. Give us your shouts on who you felt did well, who didn't do well. But overall, better, in my opinion. It was better than what we've seen against Leeds. And actually, I thought it was, you know, there were signs of things that you could see were way different from last season as well. But yeah, it's still a long road, still a long way to go. You know, we're not exactly back, you know, where we want to be, but it's a positive step in my opinion. But give us your shouts below. Right, then let's go through some transfer news. So, Fabrizio Romano had the following to say regarding Benjamin Sesko. Keep an eye on this story in the coming days, as Newcastle will go with an important proposal and Manchester United will discuss again internally, with Ruben Amorim involved in the conversations with the directors and with the financials to understand if they can do a deal or not. The Sesko situation will be one to watch in the next 7 to 10 days. So Fabrizio Romano is saying, look, Newcastle are interested in and potentially making a proposal for Benjamin Sesko. They're saying they want him anyway, not as a Alexander Isak replacement, but we can all read between the lines what's potentially going on there. But interesting that United are again going to discuss internally with Amorim whether he's going to become a viable option, whether we're going to have the money, whether Amorim wants him, you know, all of these things. I don't know. I mean, surely they're having those conversations anyway around the strikers, but maybe as the, you know, the transfer window inches closer to closing, and if Newcastle are making bids, we'll also have to speed us up in our decision makings as well. But the problem with it is we need the money, and at the moment, in order to get the money in, we need exits, and there's not that much movement on exits, although there's a really big update coming out today regarding one potential exit, which I'm going to bring to you in a bit as well. But yeah, I can see, we'll have to wait and see what happens regarding Sesko. I kind of feel, I don't know, if we can get the money in and get something done, then it's plausible. But as we know, we're mainly looking for, we want Premier League experienced players. And the one thing with Sesko is big money for a young player that's unproven in the Premier League, which doesn't necessarily mean anything. I read your comments and stuff, and I get your shouts around Sesko. You know, we'll just have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. If we go for him, then fair dues. I'm going to assume that he's well scouted, well looked at, well, you know, they've crunched the numbers and done all the data analysis and stuff as well, because I can't see Ineos and anyone taking these sort of chances on somebody unproven for that big outlay. I think if they're going to spend 60 odd million pounds on somebody, they're going to want somebody that's pretty much nailed on to come in and hit the ground running. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But yeah, give us your thoughts and feelings on Benjamin Sesko in the comments. Now, keeping with the striker situation, according to ESPN, there are 3 strikers currently on United's radar as they look to bolster their attack. Watkins, Kolo Muani and Vlahovic are thought to be on the Reds' watch list. However, it is also understood that United will have to sell a striker for one to come in, with all eyes being on either Højlund or Xerxes to make way. Now, I read that in the Manchester Evening News, but that was a report coming from ESPN suggesting that the 3 strikers on our watch list, Watkins, Muani and Vlahovic. The Vlahovic stories have gone really quiet. Romano does mention, though, that we have been offered Vlahovic, or Vlahovic wants to move to the Premier League. I think we're one of the clubs. I was thinking the other day, would Vlahovic be a shout for Villa as a Watkins replacement? Could that be an option or a way to go down? But I don't know whether they would be able to afford his wages. He is apparently willing to take a pay cut, but still wants £200,000 a week, which I'm not entirely convinced with Vlahovic. Muani's a player though that we have been linked with. We were interested in him in January. I think we would have maybe got Muani if Garnacho was sold. Maybe got Muani on loan and then used them on a money this summer. But again, we'll have to wait and see what happens. On Muani, though, because he is heavily linked with a move to Juventus, in the same report, it was saying elaborating further on the links to Randall Kolo Muani, ESPN adds that PSG no longer want the forward after loaning him to Juventus for the second half of last season. Juve want him back, but currently are not in a position to afford him. The Frenchman has been offered to Premier League clubs as well. So, and then they went on to say that Chelsea understood to have looked at him, but preferred Delap and Pedro. Arsenal always wanted Gyökeres, so it seems that United could be at the front of the queue, potentially with Newcastle. So we could be in a bit of a fight with Newcastle for Sesko, maybe Muani, or maybe if Newcastle gets Sesko, do we then go for Muani, vice versa as well. So that's maybe one to keep an eye on, because we know we have been linked with Muani for a couple of years. I think we wanted him before he went to PSG, so he's clearly on, he's clearly a target or somebody that we've looked into, whether we're going to go for him or not, or whether that's, linking us with Muani to try and get more money from Juventus or get them to, get a budge on with their deal. Who knows? But no smoke without fire. And I do think that Muani might be on the list, is what I would say regarding that. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Now, let's go for another striker option that could be possible. I would suggest maybe towards the end of the transfer window, if all else fails. Mitrovic, so Alexander Mitrovic has been linked with a move back to the Premier League, and multiple clubs are keen on securing his signature. Mitrovic is not only on the radar of Manchester United, but also Newcastle United and Tottenham Hotspur as well. Now that came from Court Offside. Court Offside got some credible journalists that write for them, some not so credible journalists. This came from one of their hitty-missy ones, let's say that. But interestingly, Ben Jacobs has linked us with Mitrovic as well, so maybe that could be plausible, but I would suggest that would be more towards the end of the transfer window if all targets go. If Sesko goes to Newcastle and Villa don't want to sell us Watkins and Nicholas Jackson doesn't leave Chelsea or goes somewhere else, then maybe that could be one of the ones to watch later on, but I wouldn't necessarily be dead excited against it, although he does have the quality, he does have the attributes, I think, that we would be looking for as like a worker, a target man up front as well. So yeah, but he would be way down the pecking order in my personal list of potential striker options, but we'll wait and see how it plays out. Give us your shouts, give us your thoughts and feelings on the striker situation in the comments below. Let's move on to the midfield, actually. So Manchester United are interested in Galatasaray midfielder Gabriel Sara, or Sara, I think it's pronounced. Now, that came from a Turkish journalist, reposted by some aggregator sites. I don't know the credibility. It has a large following, though, as well. Not the first time that we've been linked with Sara, though. From Galatasaray. So maybe one to pay attention to. The report was saying that it's or he's valued at around 40 million euros, which is around 33 million pounds. 26-year-old Brazilian, good age as well for somebody that we want to potentially look at. Good injury history as well. Not necessarily Premier League experience, but has played Championship under Norwich as well. Decent stats as well. Like if you want someone that's a bit of more of an all-round midfielder in terms of his attacking output, progressive passes, carries, take on, someone that can dribble the ball through the midfield, but also his interceptions and blocks are quite high as well. So an all-action sort of midfielder I could see fitting within the system and being a rotation option for maybe Ugarte and Mainu in that double pivot, or someone that can potentially play alongside Bruno to partner him as well, like a Casemiro replacement, because, as much as Casemiro had a bit of a swan song at the end of last season, I do think the pace of the Premier League he's going to struggle with. But we'll have to wait and see. He might just be a slow burner, though. He might just be one of these that needs game and minutes to get back into his sharpness. So we'll have to wait and see. But interesting shout. I've been linked with him a few times as well. I'd want to see a bit more credibility, though, before making a solid opinion on him as well. But not the worst idea I've heard of. I don't know whether we would have those sort of funds or whether there's cheaper options as well, like Taliso we were linked with for like £10 million, I think it was. I like that idea, but is he the right profile to bring in? Are we looking for somebody, maybe a bit younger with a bit more longevity for the first team? Who knows? But we'll keep an eye on that one for you. But give us your shouts in the comments. There's been some interesting news regarding the goalkeeper situation. So if you watched yesterday's video, there was a report that came out, I think it was from Court Offside, not from one of their most credible journalists, linking us with a move for Donnarumma. But now we've had Tan Zolik, who's actually a fairly good French journalist that writes for L'Equipe, come out saying that PSG have reached an agreement in principle over broad terms with Lucas Chevalier. Paris are open to paying Lille's demand of €40 million. The club wants to sign Chevalier before selling Donnarumma. Manchester City and United are interested in Donnarumma. So the report yesterday was saying that apparently, because we got linked with Donnarumma at the start of the transfer window, and then the reports were that he's being offered in contract negotiations with PSG. So instantly you're like, okay, well, we've been used there to generate interest and, whip up a frenzy in the media, linking with United to get PSG to go to the table to offer him a new contract. He's only got a year left on his contract as it stands. The report yesterday was suggesting that actually those contract negotiations are broken down. But interesting that Tan Zolik has pretty much confirmed that as well, saying that, and PSG are moving on and looking at Lucas Chevalier already as a replacement for Donnarumma. And then they're also saying that City and United are interested. I don't know where we would find the money, not just for Donnarumma for his cost and transfer fee, his wages. I think he's on around 300 grand a week last time I checked, if I remember rightly. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but going off of pure memory, I think it was working out he's roughly on around 300 grand a week. So then if he's refusing a contract with PSG, that's going to be massively, way too expensive for us and way outside of our new wage structure that we're having under Ineos. Interestingly, Romano confirmed the story, not the links with United for Donnarumma, but the interest from PSG and Chevalier. Paris Saint-Germain have agreed personal term with Lucas Chevalier. Talks ongoing with Lille as requested. Starts from 40 million, as L'Equipe reported. PSG start moving as they still cannot agree a new deal with Donnarumma as well. So again, I kind of still feel we're being used, linking with Man United to maybe generate interest from other teams, because in order for us to be able to afford Donnarumma, one, he'd probably have to take a massive pay cut, but then secondly, we have to sell Onana, and we're not selling Onana because no one's interested in buying Onana at this particular moment in time. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments. The more likely scenario for the goalkeeper situation is Lammens, who did an interview, actually had the following to say: Manchester United is one of the best clubs, but you never know. There might be another club, or I'll stay here. When teams like Manchester United come, I think you deserve it. So again, name dropping, clearly, aware of United's interest, aware of the links and the rumours with us potentially looking at Lammens. He does seem like more of the viable option because I think he's relatively cheap. £17 million, was it? Like 15 million, around that sort of cost. Very highly regarded, young, could come in and be the number two, but I think could also push Onana hopefully towards the end of the season as well, or when he starts making mistakes, or if he starts making mistakes. Let's be positive. Let's start the season fresh. If Onana starts making the mistakes, then maybe he could give him a run for his money. And then if you bring someone in like Lammens, then that forces maybe Bayenda to look at other clubs as well, because there's no real links with Bayenda leaving neither as well. And if you're bringing in someone like that, he's going to be at least at worst, the number two goalkeeper. And then Bayenda's going to be, third or fourth choice. Well, be third choice, won't it? Because obviously Amorim rates him more than Tom Heaton because he played the full game yesterday as well. But yeah, that'll be interesting. That's probably more realistic than Donnarumma. But yeah, give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Now, there's been loads of news. Obviously, we know that incoming relies on exits. We need to sell somebody. We need to remove people off the wage books from a PSR perspective. We also, importantly, need to get some cash in order to be able to spend money. And we've got the four players, the Freedom Four, we'll call them now. There's been a few rumours, mainly around Antony over the last couple of days, with links to the Saudi Pro League. So there's been more Saudi Arabian journalists saying that Al Nassr club are in in negotiations with Antony. Now, that's interesting because the report yesterday about you was direct quotes from Antony's agent suggesting that actually, yes, they would be interested or would consider a move to the Saudi Pro League. So that's really interesting if that's to be believed. Now, there is a report coming out actually at the time of recording this video saying that Mason Greenwood is the first choice for the right wing position for Al Nassr. And if not, then maybe they would be going for Antony. But let's not forget, we've got a 40 to 50% sell-on clause in his contract from Marseille as well, and he would, be that's a pure homegrown profit as well if that was to be. If that's to be reported. That's from the same journalist as well, suggesting, in fact, that, let me read it. It says, although Al Nassr are in negotiations with Antony, their top choice for right wing is Mason Greenwood. So like I said, there could be a way that we could either get some money from the Saudi Pro League, either with Antony, which would be ideal, but if they then go for Mason Greenwood, we've got a 40 to 50% sell-on clause of the profit that they make for that deal. And I think Greenwood would be way more expensive than Antony because, he's a better player. In my opinion, than Antony. So that's one to pay attention to. But another journalist, Spanish, has said that Antony is set to join Al Nassr. However, this was reposted by aggregator accounts. I think that journalist writes for Fachahez, and I don't rate Fachahez at all. I think they're one of the worst sources of information out there. Doesn't mean that they're necessarily wrong, though, or that all of their journalists support. It's just I've never read a report from them that's actually been that's worked out or been anything like credible. So we'll pay attention to that. But interesting because, there are multiple reports coming out at the time of recording this video. Potentially of interest from Antony in the Saudi Pro League. Now that would be good for us as well, because one, they'll be able to pay the asking price for him. Secondly, they'll be able to pay his wages, and then also that potentially then could give us some cash in with the PSR wiggle room with his wages gone to go out and maybe do a sign in, maybe do a Lammens, maybe do a Sesko or something like that as well if it works out that way from a PSR perspective. So keep an eye on that one for you. Bring you any updates when they come out. Give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video. That's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.